At one time, former Sacramento Kings star big man DeMarcus Cousins was the best center in the NBA. With a revolutionary arsenal of offensive weapons that could cause huge damage, Cousins spent many years tormenting opposing defenses. Yet today, at only 31 years of age, he's struggled to remain on NBA rosters for multiple seasons and has barely been getting 10-day contracts. So what really happened to him? This is the rise and fall of DeMarcus Cousins. But first, a reminder about our brand new giveaway. We're giving away a PS5 with a copy of NBA 2K22 and Madden 22. All you have to do is watch the full video, leave a like, comment the keyword hidden in the video, and make sure you're subscribed. It's that simple. A basketball freak is born. DeMarcus Amir Cousins is a 6-foot 10-inch big man who was taken 5th overall in the 2010 NBA Draft after an impressive season as a Kentucky Wildcat. Considering players like Evan Turner and Wesley Johnson were taken ahead of him, it isn't crazy to say the Sacramento Kings got an absolute steal. Cousins came out of college as an absolute physical specimen, both height and weight-wise, with unbelievably crafty skills for a center. His strength alone allowed him to overpower virtually anybody who opposed him on the low block. Despite never being the best athlete, long having questionable explosiveness and conditioning, his monstrous 7-foot 6-inch wingspan allowed him to be an impact player on both offense and defense. Basically, once he overpowered his defender and got good positioning close to the basket, there was not much else anybody could do to stop him. His reflexes were elite for a player so heavy, allowing him to react rather quickly to the plays unfolding on the court. His versatile offensive skill set and top-notch footwork helped him to get whichever shot he wanted, as he was able to hit jump shots from the mid-range and later in his career became a legitimate threat from behind the three-point arc. He could finish over contact and was an efficient scorer, and if he needed to, he could also push the ball in transition and make plays for his teammates. There was really nothing Cousins couldn't do offensively. Defensively, he was never a standout player due to his subpar lateral quickness, but if teams didn't find a way to get him off the paint, he was an absolute nightmare defensively, as he could just stand there with his long arms and challenge everything at the rim. He was a solid rebounder, more due to his strength rather than due to vertical lift, as once again his long wingspan did much of the work for him in that department. Other than Paul George and fellow Kentucky star John Wall, there wasn't anyone else who could challenge Cousins for the best player of the 2010 draft class title. A big fish in a small pond. Playing for one of the worst teams in the NBA, Cousins had a good chance to stand out and shine from the get-go. By the end of his rookie contract, Boogie already averaged 23 points, 12 rebounds, 3 assists, 2 steals, and 1 block on 50% shooting from the field. He led all centers in usage rate and was one of the best at drawing contact. He was a bona fide star in the making with 2 big issues at hand. First, the Kings had a very poor supporting cast for Cousins, outside of Rudy Gay and an emerging Isaiah Thomas. And second, DeMarcus's long-standing attitude issues had already caused quite some trouble. While it's understandable that as a star player you get angry and frustrated when things don't go your way, Cousins earned a bad reputation for having a short fuse and an unstable temper. Again, he was playing for perhaps the most miserable franchise over the past 2 decades, the damn Sacramento Kings, but his altercations made him subject to multiple fines and suspensions, both by the league office and the Kings organization. He got into confrontations with coaches Paul Westphal and George Karl, both of whom Cousins reportedly had a hand in firing, and even San Antonio Spurs color commentator Sean Elliott, who Boogie confronted after a game when he heard Elliott's criticism of his attitude. Despite posting better numbers every year, averaging 28 points in the 2016-2017 season, both Cousins and the Kings started growing increasingly frustrated. On one hand, Boogie couldn't stand improving every year yet continued missing the playoffs. On the other hand, the Kings had had enough of his attitude and weren't willing to pay his market value to keep him. A blockbuster trade that shocked the NBA. Just minutes after playing in his 3rd straight All-Star game, the Kings traded Cousins to the New Orleans Pelicans in what was immediately dubbed an absolute robbery. The Kings only received Tyreke Evans, a rookie Buddy Hield, and a 2017 top 3 protected first-round pick, as well as a 2017 second-round pick. Kings general manager Vlade Divac admitted that they had better offers on the table, which makes the trade extremely questionable. But he said, "Winning begins with culture and character matters. They believed, despite Cousins' amazing play, his attitude was derailing the Kings from making the NBA playoffs. But that didn't justify giving away the best center in the game and a top 10 player for virtually nothing. As fate would have it, the Kings are yet to recover from this horrific trade, and the Pelicans managed to pair Cousins with the best power forward in the game in Anthony Davis. The duo found success as the Pelicans' front court was dominating and helping the team make a push for the playoffs. But on a January 26, 2018 game against the Houston Rockets, and with less than 15 seconds remaining in the game, Cousins suffered a torn left Achilles after trying to rebound his own missed free throw and landing awkwardly. The injury came at the worst possible time for the Pelicans, who were just a game behind the OKC Thunder for the 5th seed in the uber-competitive Western Conference. New Orleans still managed to make the playoffs, but they were gentlemen swept by the Golden State Warriors. Don't go anywhere, because after seeing Boogie's rise to the top, we're just getting started on his fall from grace, which included losing millions of dollars, his integrity, and his basketball gifts. A myriad of setbacks. With his contract coming up at the end of the 2017-2018 season, Cousins was seeking a hefty long-term deal, and before going down with his torn Achilles, Boogie was indeed receiving a lot of interest league-wide. Since leaving Sacramento, Cousins had somewhat cleaned his reputation as a pain in the butt, meshing well with his fellow superstar Anthony Davis and proving he wasn't just putting up empty stats with the Kings, but that he could contribute to winning and turning a team into a contender. And so, even after suffering the worst injury a basketball star big man can sustain, the Pelicans offered Cousins a 2-year extension that would have paid him about $20 million per season, the most he had ever earned in his career. And guess what Cousins did? Yes, he declined that. The Kings had repeatedly expressed their desire to bring him back, but Boogie expected some big offers that summer, and once free agency hit, and so Cousins decided to call the Golden State Warriors to offer his services, and the Dubs immediately signed him to a 1-year, $5.3 million deal. It was a heavily criticized move, as the NBA community called out Cousins for taking the easy route to the NBA title. It took him a while to come back, but Cousins was eventually able to make his Warriors debut. He wasn't a top scoring option like he was used to being in Sacramento and New Orleans, but he still managed a decent 30-game season, averaging 16 points, 8 rebounds, and 4 assists on 48% shooting from the field. But less than 4 minutes into Game 2 of the Warriors' first-round matchup against the Los Angeles Clippers, Cousins tore his quad when he dove for a loose ball. And even though he managed to return to play in the NBA Finals, Boogie later admitted, "I was terrible in the finals. One leg was a one-legged bandit. I had no business on the floor. None whatsoever." Cousins left the Bay Area without the NBA title he was seeking. The never-ending struggle. After recovering from his torn quad, Cousins signed a 1-year deal with the Lakers in the summer of 2019, joining a championship favorite and reuniting with Anthony Davis. But in a preseason pickup game, Boogie tore his left ACL and missed the entire 2019-2020 season without ever playing a game in a Lakers uniform. In December 2020, Cousins signed a 1-year contract with the Houston Rockets, joining his good friend and fellow injury-riddled former Wildcat teammate John Wall. Despite averaging almost 10 points per game, Cousins was clearly not the player he once was offensively, shooting a putrid 38% from the field and getting waived after 25 games in Houston. What do you think about DeMarcus Cousins? Can he become a serviceable NBA player and stay on the floor constantly once again? Make sure to let us know in the comments section down below, and we'll see you in the next one.